Now we have a really original story on the FX channel, and it's called The Bridge, and it really raises interesting questions about immigration. Please welcome Meredith Stiehm to talk about her Peabody Award. Meredith.
Thank you. I guess, like many writers, I excel at self-loathing. So when we found out we got this award, I was sure there was a mistake, and why us? Why would we get chosen? Because the Peabody is so esteemed, and I went on the website and saw stories that matter, and I felt better because that's the reason I wanted to do The Bridge in the first place. It started as an adaptation. It's a Danish, Swedish series, and it's a cop show, really. There's a body found on the border between two countries, and two different sets of cops have to work together. And when it came to me, it was pre-sold as Canada. The American version was going to be Michigan and Canada. And I was like, okay, yeah, that could be cool. And then I brought in Elwood Reed, who's that giant guy that was standing with me earlier. He's back on a plane to LA right now. And he was like, no, Mexico, Mexico, Mexico. And he was, of course, right. And we changed all our plans. And then FX was really kind of like a savior, because we had sort of made a deal at a place we probably shouldn't have. And they wouldn't even talk to us when it was Canada. They wouldn't even see us. But then when we said, oh, well, what about Mexico? They said, oh, we'll hear your pitch. And they did, and they put us on the air, and they were willing to take on a world that is not that pleasant, that is not that pleasing. And they were willing to put on a show that was bilingual. Our show takes place half in Juarez, half in El Paso. We use subtitles. People don't like subtitles on TV. So they were really bold and brave, and I'm really grateful about that. I guess I just want to tell you a couple things that stood out to me when I was researching this. There was a year, maybe 7 or 8 years ago, when things were at the worst in Juarez and El Paso, and it's a little better in Juarez now, where there were 5 murders in El Paso. In that same year, there were 3,000 murders in Juarez. And you can walk from El Paso to Juarez on a bridge in 5 minutes, and yet these worlds could not be more different. El Paso is the safest city. It's one of the safest in the country. It's overly law, and like the law enforcement there is so present. It's too much, really. And you go to Juarez, if you go against the advice of most, and it's scary. You know, we went over there, we walked across, and we went to a demonstration of these mothers. I don't know if you know about the Girls of Juarez and the pink crosses, but for decades now, girls have just been missing from being taken from their factory buses, from the streets. They go away. No one knows what happens, and then they end up dead. And there's a lot of theories about it, and some is that the police are compliant, the military is compliant, but no one is investigating it. And these families, this demonstration was mothers, they've just got pictures of their girls on pink paper, they've got pink crosses, and that's all that's really being done. And that would just be unthinkable on the other side of that bridge in El Paso or anywhere in America. And really, borders are arbitrary, right? I mean, it's just land. And I spoke to a lot of people in El Paso, and lovely, good people, and I asked them about, what do you think about that happening? And that's the girls. There's also the whole drug madness and warfare. And this woman who I completely liked, and I felt like she was sort of like me, she said, I know it sounds terrible, but I just don't think about it. And that's probably what I would do too if I lived in El Paso, but that's such a weird dichotomy and such a weird way to live. It just seems wrong. So this felt like, a hard story to tell because it's so grim and gloomy. So it seemed to us that this tale of murder, which was this body on the bridge, was a way in, because people like cop shows, and I know how to write cop shows, and Elwood knows how to write cop shows. And the backdrop would be Juarez and El Paso, and little by little, maybe we could explore some of these stories, some of these families, these girls' stories, people that are ninis, they're called. They're like the babies of the drug industry in Juarez. And, you know, it's somewhat like the other documentary that I haven't seen yet, a Glass House, the house I live in. You know, that's the industry, so that's what you work in. Anyway, it seemed like a good backdrop in a bold world, and FX was lovely to take it on. And it's not easy to watch. It's not easy to write about, but it is important, and it feels undertold. I didn't know any of this, and I can't believe I didn't know it. Those are really big numbers, and it's really like a horror nightmare down there, you know, a little walk away from Texas. So again, the Peabody, I hold it in such high esteem. I really couldn't believe that we were noticed, because there is so much good work, and how do you stand out in a crowd? And I'm very grateful that you chose us and you gave us a platform, FX, on the show and here with you guys. I mean, you guys are journalists and you're writers and documentarians. I mean, maybe you'll help tell that story. Thank you.